Howdy, everyone. Thanks for attending this missing middle info session. We're just going to let people keep trickling in for a moment here, and then we'll get started. So thanks for your patience.
I'll go ahead and put the presentation.
All right. Hello, everybody. I know folks are still trickling in, but I figure we can get started. My name is David Scully. I am the Managing Deputy Commissioner at the Department of Planning and Development, leading the Planning and Design Bureau, and really want to welcome you all to this webinar on the missing middle. This program is a sort of new opportunity that really focuses around, sort of investment in disinvested communities focused around, sort of housing, particularly missing middle housing, which, Brian will get into a little bit more detail on through the presentation. But we're really excited about this opportunity. This is something that has really come from and it's funded by the $1.25 billion economic development bond that was passed this year by City Council, and that we're leveraging, and we were able to set aside in the Department of Planning's portion of that about $75 million for this missing middle info housing initiative. And we're starting in North Lawndale, which is, sort of an amazing community that really has a profound opportunity to really work at the scale of 2 flats, 3 flats, single family townhouses, and 6 flats. So with that, I'll actually, open it up for some of the DPD team to give a quick intro of themselves. And then once we do that, we'll get into the presentation. But I'll hand it to Brian really quickly to introduce himself.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brian Hacker. I'm a planner with DPD in the West Region team, and I'll be managing the Missing Middle Initiative pilot phase for North Lawndale and handling most of the presentation today. Let's see here. Who else we got? I'll hand off to Cindy.
Hey, thanks, Brian. Hi, everyone. Cindy Rubik. I'm Deputy Commissioner here with the Department of Planning and Development. Thank you all for joining us. I'll hand it over to Nelson.
Good afternoon, everybody. This is Nelson Chung, Department of Planning and Development. I manage the land sales programs here at the Department of Planning. So I'm going to hand over to Brad Roback.
Good afternoon. As Nelson just said, Brad Roback from the Department of Planning. I work in the Citywide Planning Bureau, and I kind of look after the sustainable development policy in relation to this project. So thanks for attending. And I think maybe Chris Jang, would you want to go next?
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody. Chris Jang with Department of Planning and Development Assistant Commissioner, working in the West and Southwest region, and working with Brian on this.
All right. Now,
is that everybody or?
Yeah, I think that's everybody from
Okay.
our side. I do want to give Michael Wood a second to introduce himself from Chicago Architecture Center, who's been our partner and a lot of the work over the last several years around Missing Middle.
Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Wood. I'm a curator at the Chicago Architecture Center. We've been partnering with DPD around a design competition focused very much on the objectives of this initiative.
Brilliant. So with that, I think we can actually get into the presentation that Brian is prepared to really get into a little bit of the details of the initiative, a little bit of around just the background, as well as the details of how we're working through and how we're funding it. So with that, Brian, take it away.
Thanks a lot, David, and everyone else, and thanks to everyone for joining. I don't see Alderman Scott on the call, but I did just text her to give her a little reminder in case she's able to join us for some comments, but we'll go ahead. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, I just wanted to start with our agenda for today. The Alderwoman was able to join us yesterday, but it's a very, very busy time for City Council. She may not be able to jump on today. So just, to cover the items today, we'll be defining what the missing middle means, just kind of some background information on the initiative, providing an overview of the program over, the 4-year period that it's planned for, covering the application process and the requirements for application, how we'll be evaluating those applications and selecting applicants to move forward through the initiative, and then just some finer details of the program, and close out with a question and answer. Yesterday we had a pretty robust amount of time for Q&A, so we expect to be able to take a lot of questions. And just before we get going, I would encourage everyone to go to the homepage for the Missing Middle Initiative at chicago.gov/missing middle. That's where the program guide can be accessed and downloaded. There's also a FAQ that's up there, as well as a link to the shyblockbuilder.com website where you can submit your application. So anything that you don't hear from us today, you may find there. If not, then you can always reach out to me, and we will be sending out the slide deck to all the registrants after today's webinar. So just for a little bit of background, not everyone may be familiar with the term missing middle, but missing middle is, really refers to the gaps in the fabric of urban neighborhoods that are left, because of demolition of middle density housing like townhomes, single family homes, 2 and 3 flats, and courtyard buildings, the type of buildings that are really the backbone of Chicago neighborhoods. And, over time have really provided middle-class homeowners an opportunity to build generational wealth, in addition to providing a home for them and, potentially their extended relatives as well. A lot of this housing has been lost since the 1960s, particularly on the south and the west sides, due to disinvestment, depopulation over the decades. And the resulting vacant lots have had a real destabilizing effect for neighborhoods. And today we're talking about North Lawndale. This is an area that's been particularly affected by the prevalence of vacant lots due to that loss of missing middle housing. A lot of these vacant lots have ended up under the ownership of the city of Chicago. The city currently holds over 7,000 residential lots in our inventory. So that high volume of vacant city-owned land poses a lot of challenges, both for the city as well as the impacted communities, but it also presents an opportunity. And that brings us to the Missing Middle Initiative. So just for some broad information on it, this is planned to be a multi-year program that is leveraging vacant city-owned parcels for redevelopment as that missing middle density infill housing in communities on the west and the south sides, particularly those areas where the private market isn't quite strong enough to support private investment. We are offering some financial incentives for the initiative. And as David mentioned, these are allocated from Mayor Johnson's 2024 to 2028 Housing and Economic Development Bond. And that assistance will be in the form of land write-downs for $1 per parcel, and then 50,000 to 150,000 per unit subsidies. And that, just to clarify, is not per property, it's per unit that's developed on that property, because the housing types include multi-unit buildings. We anticipate that this will result in the construction of 250 to 400 new buildings on the west and south sides, and those could contain up to 750 residential units, through the life of the program, going through 2028. And the overall goals here are to create affordable homeownership opportunities that'll encourage generational wealth building. It'll stabilize these blocks that are currently facing challenges from a lot of vacant property, and we want to help to repopulate these disinvested communities that have lost significant amounts of population, particularly since the 60s, 70s, seen a substantial decline. This map shows the pilot area in North Lawndale for the Missing Middle Initiative. This is primarily the area focused around 16th Street, between more or less Douglas Park on the east side and Springfield on the west side. You've got Douglas Boulevard to the north, Ogden Avenue to the south. This is an area, we chose it because there are, some great amenities here, like Douglas Park, one of the largest and most beautiful parks that in the city of Chicago. It's got the CTA Central Park Pink Line station within walking distance at Ogden and Central Park. And this is an area where DPD is invested in the past on Ogden Avenue near Trumbull and Homan. There's a former police parking lot that's being redeveloped as the Grace Manor Affordable Multifamily project. That's a mixed-use development with ground floor retail space. There's also the Roosevelt Costner site to the northwest that's being redeveloped as industrial and community uses. We expect that this will provide hopefully hundreds of new jobs in the North Lawndale community. And then finally, this is an area that has a high concentration of city-owned land, and we feel it's a good place to start for that reason. So next, we want to cover what the application process looks like. So it's going to be managed entirely through the shyblockbuilder.com website. This is the city's relatively new portal for land sales. If you navigate to shyblockbuilder.com, you'll see this page that's on the slide here. It has an option for property sales programs on the right. There's a drop-down menu there, so you can select Missing Middle to proceed with the application for the initiative. But before you get into the actual application, there is a screener questionnaire just to make sure that potential applicants are meeting a kind of baseline of qualifications before going ahead and submitting the final application. And then just to cover the application window timeline here, it opened on October 1st. We've got webinars, or we had webinars yesterday and today. Questions have to be submitted by the 15th, which is Tuesday of next week. And then that's October 15th. And then the application round closes on Friday, November 15th, I believe at 11:59 p.m. So get them in before midnight. And then we expect to announce our selections for projects in late December or early January, so end of 2024, early 2025. So to be eligible to apply for the program, so first off, we're making 44 city-owned lots in North Lawndale in that pilot area available. They're being offered in 6 distinct clusters, and these contain parcels of 5 to 8 parcels each. Applicants have to select one of these clusters and commit to developing the parcels within that cluster to be eligible for consideration. The eligible housing types that can be proposed are single-family homes, townhomes, 2 flats, 3 flats, going up to 6 flats. Obviously, this can be dependent on, you know, the zoning restrictions and the lot area. So, you know, 6 flats can be built on every single eligible parcel. With the applications, we want to see a projected development plan that includes solid construction timeline, conceptual design plans, as well as a draft pro forma. There isn't a requirement that these units be meet a certain level of affordability as they would need to through something like the ARO, but we are capping the sale prices at a level that would be commensurate with a household income of 140% AMI, or area median income. And then I already mentioned this before, but just reiterating that it also offers the opportunity for financial incentives to, you know, these are really intended to cover financing gaps, you know, that are identified through a, you know, pro forma that's shown due diligence, and those are in the form of the land write down and the per unit subsidy between 50 and 150,000. This map here shows the 6 distinct clusters and the properties that are within them. So everything that's highlighted in the pink color there is a city-owned parcel. So, you know, these are spread throughout the study area here, as I mentioned, kind of, you know, between Springfield and Douglas Park, and roughly bounded by Ogden to the south and Douglas Boulevard to the north. So what is DPD trying to achieve through this initiative? And, you know, this is these are helpful guidelines for potential applicants to be referencing when you're putting together your application. So just a moment here. So yeah, first off, you know, DPD is really looking for a proposal that's, you know, well integrated with the existing community, something that is, you know, respecting the urban fabric and development patterns in North Lawndale. You know, and obviously we're looking to provide new home ownership opportunities, you know, to folks on the west side or Chicago, you know, citywide. You know, families, homeowners with a, you know, diverse range of incomes to, you know, create a mixed income community here. You know, we're also looking to, you know, increase the density of the North Lawndale area, and as well as any other communities that would, you know, be a part of this program in the future. So, you know, we're looking for developers to maximize that amount of density that they can build on the available parcels. This is a, you know, what we would consider a transit served location. So we'd like to, you know, the city has made it an important policy to encourage equitable transit-oriented development, or ETOD. So we're looking for proposals that embody those principles, that, you know, make transit accessible to, you know, residents of all incomes and ages, genders. So to really maximize the existing transportation network that's in place here. And then we're also looking for proposals that are going to embody a certain level of design quality. You know, we want these designs to be, you know, contextual with the North Lawndale built environment, and, you know, see quality building materials that are going to provide, you know, attractive housing and, you know, draw attention from, you know, a broad range of interested home buyers. The slide is fairly detailed, but we want to be transparent about the evaluation criteria for when we are, you know, selecting applications. So I won't go through every single aspect of this, but starting off, you can get up to 30 points for proof of relevant experience. We're really trying to target applicants that can show that they have completed similar projects. You know, we're not trying to overlook kind of younger up and coming developers, but at the same time, you know, we also want to see that there's proven experience from our applicants in completing similar projects, ideally in the city of Chicago, and that they've got the capacity to deliver this project on the timeline that we've identified. Obviously, the financial capacity and feasibility is a major component of our evaluation criteria. we want to see projects that have clear plans and designs, realistic timelines, proof of funding, and pretty well fleshed out budgets that are itemized for construction and site remediation. As I already mentioned, we're putting an emphasis on design quality. Projects should show attention to context and include quality building materials that again are appropriate to this setting of an urban neighborhood in North Lawndale. For catalytic impact and proposed density, I already kind of alluded to this previously, but we are looking for projects that are going to really maximize the amount of density that can be built by right under the existing zoning, which is an RT4 district. We're also looking for a little evidence of community engagement. We realize that these projects are going to more or less fit into the existing fabric of the neighborhood here, but we would like to see developers at least reach out to local elected officials or area residents and stakeholders like community organizations, just to provide some level of community outreach. For the development timeline, this is our proposed timeline of how we anticipate these projects will play out from selection through groundbreaking. So as I mentioned, we will be selecting projects in either December or January of 2025. We will be doing a brief community engagement effort, which we expect to happen right after selection, to more or less introduce developers to the community and allow folks for the community to come out and get an understanding of the initiative and what types of projects will be built in the neighborhood. From January to March, we'll be finalizing term sheets and redevelopment agreements with selected applicants to complete the property acquisition. We expect that projects will then go before City Council for approval either in March or April, and a groundbreaking ideally happening in May. We realize this is a fairly aggressive timeline, but there have consideration has been taken to be able to move these proposed projects through that process a little bit more expeditiously than we may have done in past projects. So for any developers that are selected who are planning to accept the financial incentives and either in the form of a land write down and or the per unit subsidy, we will require a redevelopment between the city and the developers. So this is to establish certain baselines around the development schedule, financing plan, land acquisition, and the departmental approval process. And then because of this RDA, I just want to make sure that we're very clear about this. Developers are going to have to comply with the city's construction requirements. And this, of course, includes the budget participation minimums for minority business enterprises and woman-owned business enterprises, which are 26% and 6% respectively. The prevailing wage requirements will also apply to these projects, as well as the city's local hiring policy of 50% of all construction work hours being performed by Chicago residents. Excuse me. So projects that have 6 or more units, which we don't expect to be a lot, but there are some opportunities where there are contiguous parcels or larger parcels that developers may be able to leverage for a higher number of units. So if you're hitting 6 or more, you will also be required to comply with the city's sustainable development policy. If you're not familiar with it, this is a points-based system, and there's a matrix of different strategies that you can incorporate into the development to reach 100 points, which is the minimum eligibility amount. And our sustainability group has provided some suggested strategies that a developer could include in the project to get to that 100, which are called out here on this slide. We'll be sending the slide deck around so you can take a look at this in more detail on your own. I'm not going to go through every single one of these today. Just some additional details to cover for interested applicants. So obviously, anytime the city-owned land is involved, there are a lot of environmental questions that you know, are part of that process, development process. But ahead of the release of these properties on Shy Block Builder, we worked with our environmental review staff and selected parcels that they have categorized as either A or B level, which means that the documentation shows us that we don't anticipate that there will be any further environmental assessments or review required before development on these properties. I just want to caveat that with the fact that, you know, this is not 100%. This is, you know, the best, based on a review of the best information that we have. And it's possible that other, you know, information on the environmental status of the parcels arises before we close. But, you know, the idea is that we've selected lots here that aren't going to get bogged down in that process of environmental assessment and remediation. For zoning and permitting, all of the lots that have been posted for missing middle in this pilot phase are in the RT-4 zoning district. So that's the 2-flat townhouse and multi-unit zoning district. We're requesting that all projects be developed by right under the existing zoning regulations. And in regard to permitting, we are asking all selected developers to select an architect that is self-certified with the city of Chicago, and this will help streamline that permit review time. For the Affordable Requirements Ordinance, or the ARO, folks are probably familiar with this, but if not, this is an ordinance that requires multifamily residential developments to meet certain affordability requirements. As it applies to the missing middle, this will only be relevant to residential buildings that have 10 or more units, or developments that have 10 or more units on contiguous parcels. So just, you know, want to highlight that distinction between the 10 units that could either be in a building, but they can also be in separate buildings that are on contiguous parcels. So that brings us to the end of the informational presentation here. I'll stop there. I know we got Michael Wood joining us to talk about the work that we've done with the Chicago Architecture Center. So David and Michael, and back to you.
Yeah, Michael,
Thanks.
go
Thanks,
ahead.
Brian. Am I able to share my screen? Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Michael Wood. I'm a curator at the Chicago Architecture Center. Our team for the last little while, about 2 years now, has been working with the planning department in organizing a design competition expressly tied into this initiative. I wanted to just talk to you for a few minutes today to make you aware of this as a possible resource for you. Part of the reason this is important is that every local architect that appears in this design catalog first had to get through a request for qualification step. That means that almost all of the participating architects in this design catalog have the ability to self-cert. A great majority of them would add to your minority or women-owned enterprise qualifications for your application. And most importantly, they looked at updates to the 4 typologies that are in, the focus of this initiative. As a term of art, row houses in this case are just connected townhouses that you'll find in the request for application from the city. But what you have is a digital resource that you can download. There are 32 initial designs. These are not completed construction document sets. These are beginning designs by 32 very qualified firms. It's a quite easy process. Digitally, you can click on a firm name or a project title, and it'll take you right to a spread where you learn a little bit about each project. This is one sample project in the 6 flat category. You can also then click, I've highlighted in the upper left-hand corner, you'll see that you could click for an expanded view, and that will take you to the actual submission poster, where there's usually a little bit more text and a little bit more spec drawings, oftentimes a section and floor plans for each floor in each project. Again, I think the reason we really want people to look through this is that A, it's free, and we have found 32 very qualified design teams that are super excited about this initiative. They've been studying how to meet the brief. And I think what you'll find, especially as we look at the expedited timeline here for a May start, these are teams that already have a jump on it. They have a great idea of what they want to build. They have a great idea of how they can modify things to bring down cost. Most of these designs are thinking about off-the-shelf parts. So they really are already a few steps ahead. We would highly encourage any interested developer to look through the design guide. It costs you nothing. If you're super interested in meeting any of these people, you can write to us and we're happy to connect you. So it's the Missing Middle Infill Housing Design Catalog, and I will put a few pieces of information in the chat where you can access this. Unfortunately, I'm not able to stay for the Q&A, but if you look at the chat, we have an email where you can do any follow-up questions for you. We're happy to be of service and excited to see if some of these projects can't get built. That's it for me. Thank you.
Thanks, Woody. So I think we're able to just open it up and start to go through some of the questions. I know we've been kind of answering live while Brian and Michael presented. So happy to I think maybe go through. I think we only have 2 currently in the presentation. Start with this first one, which is, so how are the 50 to 150,000 subsidies determined and ultimately distributed? Saw that this would be handled through Department of Housing, but the subsidies provided, are the subsidies provided prior to start, during construction, or after construction completion? So I think there's a couple of questions in here. I think the first question about sort of how are subsidies determined and ultimately distributed. I think, from our, perspective, like this is gap funding. This is there to really, allow you to run your pro forma, run your budget, run your numbers, and then, submit that to us. And that's what we're asking for as part of the application, to then work through, with what's the appropriate subsidy. And, we're giving you kind of that range to allow for you to, sort of fill in and to, estimate based off of that, how it's penciling out. And then for us to work together based off of that. And then the portion about this is being handled through the Department of Housing. So this is not being handled through the Department of Housing. This is Department of Planning, only on this process and this project. So this will actually be going through the Economic Development Bureau through RDA, redevelopment agreement. And typically the subsidy is provided at portions of construction completion based off of the project submittal. So we'll only, kind of be able to, I think, dig into that in more detail once we actually get, complete submissions and then start to work through each developer with their redevelopment agreement. So it's going to differ slightly based off of the need and in the construction type and the number of lots that are being developed.
Thanks, David. The question from Ivan, is there a source for previously approved and constructed designs in Chicago that can be replicated? So I think that's what Michael was kind of getting at in the future phases of this, but is there anything that's analogous to that, right now?
No, there isn't. I would suggest, and one of the reasons why we're really focused around the sort of self-certified architects, is that many of those folks have done projects at this scale, projects that have worked, projects that are built. And really reaching out to those folks to find, sort of what are projects that may be in their catalog that make sense for this effort. So, and that was a bit of the, a lot of the folks that are in the Missing Middle Infill catalog that Michael shared are also, self-certified architects and have done many projects at this scale, and will have, projects and designs and things that they can show you to actually go through that. And kind of a full sort of vetted sort of city catalog is something that we're exploring, but it's not something that we have right now.
And do you also want to hit on the benefit of working with a self-certified architect in terms of the permitting process as well? Because I know yesterday there were a lot of questions around the proposed timeline, and we acknowledge that it is aggressive, particularly for those who may have worked, through the city land acquisition process before. But we have made some changes here that are allowing for that timeline to be realistic. But do you want to maybe talk about the benefits with in regard to permitting?
Yeah, sure. I think that was one of the reasons why in the application we're actually requiring that applicants actually work with a self-certified architect. It improves and speeds up the permitting process. And this was advice that we were given by Department of Buildings. They have a really robust list of self-cert architects. You can self-cert up to, I think, 8 units, for residential. So well within, kind of what we're trying to do here. And the process, it allows for folks to get their permit within 2 weeks or so. It's its own sort of process, and many architects that will be really familiar with self-cert, but it's a way to actually move through the permit process in a much more expedited way than for some larger buildings and larger efforts, which require a bit more review.
All right, thanks. There's a couple of questions that are kind of touching on, the sort of like, what I'm going to say, the kind of like minimum entry qualifications that we're requiring. And, the reason that we're doing that is obviously not to be exclusive, but it's to, be effective in delivering infill housing units on a fairly aggressive timeline here. But we do have a bonus in the evaluation criteria for emerging developers as well as developers of color, and that can either mean somebody who is either new to it but has some experience that they can show, but if that could also those folks could also be partnered with somebody who does have more experience as kind of like a smaller partner, a smaller share in the project, and to get that kind of exposure, but also to meet these basic requirements that we're looking for. And I would say we're trying to be realistic here. It's not, there's nothing that is in there that is particularly trying to single anyone out or like I said, be exclusive. We just want applications that we feel are going to be able to navigate this process effectively and in a timely fashion. But I also wanted to mention too that not only is there an opportunity here for developers to get city subsidies to build new housing, but this is also going to be an opportunity for home ownership in the community as well. As I mentioned, these aren't quote unquote like affordable units as say like the Department of Housing would define them. However, we are putting a cap on the sale prices to make sure that they're meeting a certain level of affordability. So even for folks who are interested in having a new home in this community, even if you may not be the one who's able to build it on your own, these new properties, new buildings, whether it's a single family home or a unit in a multi-unit building are going to be up for sale to provide those home ownership opportunities. Let's see. Specific timing for the, oh, sorry, I'm getting a little bit mixed up here. I saw that there was another one from Brian Eisenberg about certain designs for the boulevards. There are a number of properties that are on Douglas Boulevard. We don't have any separate, design requirements for that. The lots are a little bit different in their layout. They're fairly narrow and deep. But as long as the proposals are meeting the requirements of the zoning code, they're eligible here.
Yeah, and we are reviewing for contextual appropriateness. We understand, like, especially some of these special areas in the community, have a feel, have an energy to them. So we want to design projects that are respectful, that can push the envelope. Like, we're not necessarily like saying it needs to be an exact replica of some 1920s building that's there, but it needs to be contextually appropriate and have high quality materials because we're really focused on durability as well. We don't want a scenario where things start falling apart years and years early down the line. We really want things that can last and really be a strong part of the community context.
Thanks, David. Are developers required to be from the state of Illinois, or can they come from other states? We don't have a requirement on the state of origin from developers, but we do have some things built into the evaluation criteria to incentivize folks that have worked in Chicago, that have delivered projects in the city through our permitting and review process. So I think that it probably helps to either be from Illinois or have experience in Chicago, but you're certainly not prohibited from applying if you're not from Illinois.
And also 50% of the construction hours need to be used by Chicago residents for the incentive that's being provided.
Yeah, thanks. Is there specific timing for the sale of the completed projects to the owner occupants? I don't believe that we have anything in the requirements for when they have to be sold by, just acknowledging that that's not something that a developer can necessarily control. But David and Cindy, there isn't anything on that just in terms of when they have to be sold by.
No, there isn't. I think we really, lean on the developers' expertise on, sort of the process in which, those homes should be, sold. And as part of the submission package to really, share your thoughts on like, hey, this is how, from a both a construction and development standpoint, but also a disposition standpoint and sales standpoint, that portion is really on the developer to kind of lay out a strategy to move those forward.
And I would say, most folks who have a completed building, they'll probably have a lot of incentive on their own to go ahead and sell that property. So, we really want to make sure there's a streamline of a process as possible to getting to the groundbreaking portion. We don't want the land to be vacant for, we really want to make sure it's being reactivated as quickly as possible.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. I think that theme of putting a lot of the work in the developer's hands and being a little bit more hands-off on our side, it kind of is in line with this next question I see here from Melanie. Is it only architects being suggested, or do you have other resources like GCs, banks that want to be a part of these projects to streamline putting together packages faster? So the answer to that is no. We don't have recommended partners on this. It's on the the private side to work with their preferred lender or contractors. The only requirements that we're putting in are that MBE and WBE participation, as well as what Cindy mentioned with the local hiring requirement and the prevailing wage. So The following question is kind of leading into that from Chris. Does the program require purchasers to be qualified and approved by DOH? No, it doesn't. We're not actually, putting any requirements on like a income range for buyers. It's just the sale price that we're putting some kind of boundaries on, that it can't go over that 140% AMI affordability mark. But a house or a family or a buyer, basically with any level of income, is welcome to purchase the units that are brought online from the missing middle.
Yeah, one of the big things that is a focus of this initiative is really, sort of allowing for diverse and mix of income to come to communities. So to really allow for a lot of a wide range of folks to have the opportunity to have input and to connect and to live in these amazing places.
Similar here is from Latrice. Is there an end lender in place for buyers? Will they receive any grants? So the answer to that is no. It's because this is very much on the private side of development, and outside of the incentives that we're offering, it is going to be on the builders and developers to handle the sale of these units, and buyers would just need to go to the private market for lending for mortgage. I see Alderman Scott's on, and thanks for joining us. And would you like to jump in and say a few words? You're muted right now if you're trying to talk. All right, well, we'll keep going until she can jump on. Something that just occurred to me is that we didn't mention that the plan is to have future phases of this program as well. So in future years, the Missing Middle Initiative will expand to other communities on the south and west sides. We're talking now about, and I've already put some thought into, what those could be. So this is an opportunity that's going to be in multiple neighborhoods, and, really trying to deliver that infill housing in areas where we have a lot of city-owned vacant land. So Alderman, you go ahead and jump in any time if you can hear us. All right,
here I am.
Okay,
So,
all right.
There you go.
Here I am, finally. I just want to add some comment that, there's a lot of perception of what this project is about. This project is about building housing in North Lawndale. We sit on 3,000 vacant lots, and this is not like the program with the single lots. This is the program for developers, rather there. And I know that you mentioned that we're looking for prospective African-American developers to rebuild in this area. It's about building generational wealth. It's about making sure that, that we have equitable investments at the table in our own community. So I don't want anybody to feel shunned out, because I was reading some of the questions. This is not about a single lot. This is about buying clusters of lots and buildings. So if you are and it shouldn't scare you if you are a new developer, a smaller developer, if you have the working capital, then it can be done. And so I want to be confident in this program that we can help revitalize our community, where we sit in a really bad space with disinvestment land and a disinvestment community. So I hope that this middle market initiative sparks some interest. I hope that this sparks some movement in our community so that we can revitalize the 24th Ward.
Yeah, excellent perspective here. And yeah, this is this is one of a number of initiatives that, related to housing and, just real estate development in general that, DPD is undertaking, and with our partners over at DOH. There's a comment, related to the affordability of these units here, about the inclusivity of it. So I just want to, call out the fact that this is not the entirety of our efforts to build, new residential development in North Lawndale or on the west side. As I mentioned earlier in the presentation, there's about a 60 unit, 100% affordable multifamily building going up on Ogden Avenue at Homan right now. So, this is one piece of the puzzle. And it's a way that, there's some other questions here about like, the timeline. This is a way that, we see to approach getting some quick results and addressing a real issue in the neighborhood of vacant lots, as Alderwoman Scott, just discussed. So, it's addressing one challenge in North Lawndale and on the west side and on the south side, but not the entirety of our efforts. It's just one piece of it.
Yeah, I think that's right, Brian. And one thing I'll add just on the timeline piece is that it is, on us, and as Alderwoman mentioned, it's like there, are thousands of vacant lots in North Lawndale, and we want to be in a place, and we've worked on improving our, land disposition process. We're, sort of really improving and creating and trying to streamline a process that can allow us to move in a much more expedited manner. So we're, kind of leveraging this as a prototype to work through that and to, kind of ensure, and we think that we can achieve those goals. So we know we're being aggressive, and we're intentionally trying to move the needle forward on how we can actually get development in communities that have waited way too long to actually have development happen.
All right.
And so, and can I make another comment, please?
Yes, ma'am.
So I did see a comment that, some of the people say that this is not for poor families. So the amazing part about this program is that developers are building houses so that our families can move back into the community or move into an apartment, into a house. So we know that it's coming. So, now it's time to plan. I know that Lawndale Christian Health Center and Home and Square Foundation offers housing classes. So I think it would be a great idea to get in some of those classes so that you can become a homeowner. This particular project is for developers to build the homes for you.
Thanks, Alderman. There's some questions here that I'm actually not 100% sure of. Here, I'll just take this one here about the AMI requirements. So for 1 and 2 units, so the AMI requirements that we're anticipating that something like a 2 flat would be estimated between about 450 to 550, but we haven't exactly calculated all of those AMI caps. Those are really dependent on multiple data points. So this is something that we're going to handle kind of any case by case basis, or calculate closer to the time when we're selecting projects. But there's a couple of questions about labor that qualifies. I'm not really sure of. So someone asked about using inmates to be hired for labor. Someone else, migrant labor. I think I just reiterate that we are looking for that 26 and 6 MBE, WBE participation in the projects, as well as 50% local hiring. So all of the regulations or and compliance, the reviews that we would do around the construction requirements that the city holds would apply. So that might be something that requires further research. Is this an ADU ordinance allowing area? I am not sure.
I
That doesn't-
don't believe so, but let me.
But
let's-
the zoning is RT4, so
Yeah.
we already allow multiple units
Multi-units,
on the
yeah.
lot. The restriction is the minimum lot area is 1,000, is 1,000 for RT4. So you would just take the total square foot of the lot and divide it by 1,000, and then you would have an idea of how many units you could build on that lot.
Thanks. Does DPD plan to coordinate with DOB to eliminate the cost of self-certification for architects so that those costs don't have to be passed on to small projects through architectural services? That's not part of the scope of this project. So unfortunately, that will not change.
Yeah.
There's another comment about favoring single-family homes over apartment buildings. As I mentioned on the slide for the evaluation criteria, we do want to see, applicants maximize the density that they can achieve on these lots, under the existing RT4 zoning district. However, single-family homes are, an eligible housing type that you can apply for. So we won't be prohibiting anyone from applying to build single-family homes. And it would be nice to see a mix of housing types in these applications. I know that may lead to costs, higher costs, I should say. But we want to see the type of diversity in residential types being proposed here that you would see on like a typical block in the city of Chicago. So that can include 2 flats, 3 flats, single-family homes, all mixed in together. So you're certainly welcome to propose a diversity of housing types. Let's see. There's only a couple more questions here. I think we can buzz through these. So, can home buyers qualify with new construction mortgages? Again, that's on the developer and owners who are going to be handling that purchase process with prospective home buyers. So we don't have any requirements on that from the DPD side of things. Will you allow tiny homes on any of these lots? That's not currently a
Yeah, I don't think it'll be allowed via the MLA requirements, which I think are 1,000 square foot per units.
Yeah, it's a zoning issue, and like I said, it's everything needs to be built by right. Any thoughts on modular construction? I know that there have been other modular homes that have been built in North Lawndale as of like the past couple of years. So as long as it's permitted under the current building code and the zoning ordinance, then it's permittable.
Yep.
I would say that just keep in mind that design quality is one of the evaluation rubrics that we have, and 0 to 10 points would be evaluated for each submission proposal.
Okay. Thanks. Can we develop mixed use on these lots? I don't think it's not allowable under the zoning ordinance in these locations. I'm pretty sure, but the goal of this program is residential, and really like the lots that are being offered. It's not the type of site that you would develop, say, like a like a storefront there. Although I'm not 100% sure on that. RT4 may allow for some like ground floor commercial, but I don't think that it's really kind of the characteristic of these sites to be conducive to retail. But anything that's allowable under the zoning ordinance here is in play. Well, we're at T59. Let's see. There's a question about, there have been a lot of questions on, folks like wanting to be a part of this. How can you do that? Just in the North Lawndale community alone, there is a number of are a number of resources for like prospective, like developers or small business owners who, may want to take advantage of some entrepreneurial opportunities. So I would actually, maybe refer you to the 24th Ward. They might be able to put you in touch with a lot of partners, but you can also reach out to me. My email and phone are in the slide deck that will go out to everyone. And, we could potentially connect you with some services that are, in North Lawndale on the west side that can help build that capacity. All right, well, we're at 3 o'clock now. David, do you want to close this out?
Yeah, sure. I think, there's a couple of last questions in the chat, but we'll I think have to answer those as part of the FAQ, but really appreciate everybody's sort of time and energy and excitement about this, this effort. We're excited. We're really appreciative to Alderwoman Scott and sort of the 24th Ward to really be the pilot area for this, really interesting and amazing program that we think will have a tremendous benefit and tremendous impact in the community overall. So, we're excited to, see what applications come through and please, sort of take a look at the resources that we're going to send out, take a look at the FAQ, send, questions to Brian, take a look at the guide that CAC created as well. And just, sort of we're excited to kind of see what applications come through. And I think the application deadline is November 15th for this effort. So that's, really the first step. And then, hopefully we'll kind of work through from there, the applications and be able to move forward on getting projects developed in the next year. So thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.